Today we're going to look at the Dynasty trade market and look at 3 wide receivers who could help our fantasy football teams by either buying them or trading them. We're just looking at the values. We're looking at what they're being dealt for in the market, the rookie pick value, player trades that have actually happened. That way you get the idea of what you want to do with these players. And we're going to cover every player in the league. But we're doing 3 each week at wide receiver, 3 at running back, and then we'll hit quarterbacks and tight ends here and there as well. If something you're into, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We like to go from the top down and then hit some guys in the middle and hit some dirt cheap prospects. So the top guy today we're going to talk about is CeeDee Lamb from the Dallas Cowboys. He's being drafted 4th overall on average. Wide receiver 4 off the board. He turns 24 in April, so he's still kind of a young prospect, and he was very productive this year with 8 wide receiver 1 weeks, 2 wide receiver 2 weeks, and 13 double-digit PPR fantasy performances. Had 1,300 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns, 4th in the league with 149 targets, had an average depth of target of 10 yards, so he was getting volume and targets downfield, which is what we want to see. He owned a 29% target share, which is damn near elite. The team's bringing in Schottenheimer as the offensive coordinator, so that's something you want to look at for his long-term player value. Looking at the trade analyzer over at dynastyleaguefootball.com, when you try to match him up for a rookie pick value, he's being valued more than the 101, which I think if you talk to some people, engage the market, you might get some questions on that. I think some people might have the 101 over him, so I think it's very subjective in what that manager wants via trade. So that's a feeling out process. I feel like it's kind of close considering he's a top tier asset here, being drafted as a wide receiver 4, 4th overall in ADP, so that makes sense. But with Bijan being Bijan, and some people saying they're only going to take Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson over him, that's something you're going to catch on the market, because I know this stuff, because I test the market with these videos multiple times a week. So that's something I got a feel for, is there's going to be some people saying, hey, I'd rather have the 101 in CeeDee Lamb. You're going to see that because I see it in the comment section, and I know that. Looking at the trade finder, and this goes against actual trades that has actually happened in fantasy leagues. Lamb for George Pickens in a first. Lamb for a first, another first, and Garrett Wilson. That one was a 2023, a 2024, and then Garrett Wilson on top of that. Lamb for Christian Kirk, Dallas Goedert. He's an expensive player. He's young. He's going to be valuable for years to come. He's a guy you're going to have to save up and get. And like a lot of these young wide receivers, you want them on your team for a long time, and they are a building block for dynasty fantasy football teams. You only want to sell unless you absolutely have to. Like if he's your only player, but those are rare odds as well. You may want to just keep him anyways and just strap it up and try and build the rest of your lineup around him, considering he's still young at 24 years old, still has a lot of time to be productive. Really just depends on the opportunities that come your way. CeeDee Lamb's just a player you build around. A lot of upside, a lot of value for the long term, and he's expensive. The next wide receiver we're going to talk about today used to be expensive, used to be valued like a CeeDee Lamb, but now he's getting older. Situations has impacted his career, and we're talking about DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers. Right now he's being drafted around 35th overall, wide receiver 18, turns 26 in April, so about 2 years older than CeeDee Lamb. You feel like he's been in the league forever, but he's really a young guy because he came into the league at such a young age. 4 wide receiver 1 weeks, 1 wide receiver 2 weeks, 9 double-digit PPR performances, had a 27% target share. Average depth of target was 12.8 yards, so that's very solid. Averaged 92 air yards per game. Had 62 catches for 878 yards and 7 touchdowns. When you look at the target share, 27%. You look at the average depth of target, 12.8 yards on those targets, 92 air yards per game. You're expecting a 1,000-yard receiver. You didn't get that. This is situational here. He is a very, very talented wide receiver. You're getting him at wide receiver 18. On top of that, you are drafting the situation here. Situation is very murky. He is very talented. He's going to be 26 years old in April. That could run up to 27, 28 in a couple years. So you have to look at it that way too. He's not the youngest, but I still like him. I still think the value is still there for him. I think he's a good asset to have on your team. But you got to understand that wide receivers a bubble too. There's a lot of good wide receivers in the league, and there's going to be more wide receivers coming to the league, really diluting the value of some of these guys. But all in all, I think he's a great wide receiver to have. I've always been a fan of him. He's one of those players I've been looking to get. On the DLF trading analyzer, he's being valued as a mid to late first round rookie pick. Seems about right. The feel for it. And looking at the trade finder, he was dealt for a second. He was dealt for a second, third in KJ Osborne. And then that's a small sample. The rest he's been dealt in bigger trades with multiple players on both ends. Maybe used as a package up piece to get a top tier wide receiver or however they were doing it in the trade. But thinking about this small sample, that might be an indicator of how valuable these rookie picks are, that you might be able to snag a DJ Moore with a top tier second. I'm not thinking that's going to happen. I don't advocate for it. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I wouldn't do it. I feel like late first-ish, considering how the increase in value is going to happen to these picks once we get closer to draft day, is a thing that you're going to be looking at. It looks like once things get sketchy off the board, you might want to kick the tires at them. I feel like this is a player that is going to have some fluctuating value here in the near future. Rookie draft time might be the time you might be able to sneak away with him, especially in the early second if a player falls. If we get some running backs, go to some juicy landing spots. Really, the landing spots of this draft is really going to impact what you can do with him in rookie drafts if you can sneak him away. Selling him, it's really not the right time. In season is probably the best if he has a few good games. Rookie draft time, those rookie picks are going to be valuable. It's going to dilute his value a little bit. Off season, people are looking back at the situation. It's been sour. It's been sour. Maybe he'll get talked up a little bit going into August. But if he has a string of good games and you want to sell him, that's probably going to be the best time. You look at a young receiver like this with a good target share, good ADOT, you're expecting more out of it. He has been pretty good when it comes to that workload. Maybe down the line we get more production. Again, good player to have on your roster still. And get you some production, getting you some workload. A guy you're going to chase a little bit in DFS. A guy you're going to chase a little bit week to week in redraft, playing the matchups with. So he still holds some value. Obviously, due to ADP, he's still got some years to play. I think he's going to be in the league for quite a bit because he's solid. It's going to be like a Brandon Cooks type of deal where he's 28, 29. He posts a 1,000-yard season. You're like, man, he's been doing it forever. That's the thing about a wide receiver like this. Don't take it for granted. He's a good guy to have on your roster because once you get him, you can just keep him for a very long time. Price tag's pretty cheap if you think of what you're getting. You're getting a wide receiver here. He's getting good target share numbers, good ADOT, good volume here, and you're going to have him for another 5-6 years or so because I don't see him falling off unless major injuries happen. But I feel like this is a good prospect if you want to invest in for the long term. Short-term wise, things are a little sketchy, murky due to the situation in Carolina, but he might be getting a new quarterback soon, might be getting pieced up with targets. Who knows? But he is talented, and he does get volume, and those are two things you want to chase. Let's keep it flowing with another promising prospect who hasn't been hitting, but this is our dirt cheap player that we're going to look at this week. And let's keep it in the Moore family with Rockdale Moore from Arizona, being drafted as the 103rd player overall, 48th wide receiver off the board in ADP. Had one wide receiver 1 week last year, 3 wide receiver 2 weeks, 5 double-digit PPR fantasy performances, injured, missed a lot of games, had a 19% target share, average depth of target of 5.5 yards. Rumors, DeAndre Hopkins might be leaving, might not be on the team. Can he stay healthy? What's this coaching staff going to look like? What's the volume going to look like? What's Kyler Murray going to look like long term? A lot of question marks here, which could be good or bad for him, considering the first couple years has been injury riddled. The opportunity hasn't been there. So he could be a speculative asset that you go after. When you speculate, it's a gamble. A cheap gamble here. Wide receiver 48. So you're talking about like the wide receiver 5-ish on your team or so. 103rd overall. Really depends on how you build your team, whether he's wide receiver 5-ish, maybe even 8-ish. I pound wide receivers early. So at this range, he might end up being wide receiver 6, 7, 8 or something like that. If you don't pound him, you might be your wide receiver 4-ish. It really depends on how you build your teams, how you trade, and all that stuff. But he is a back-end guy that has some upside due to his athleticism, 99th percentile size, adjusted speed score, burst for days, a pinball out there. Trade Analyzer has him valued as a late second-round rookie pick. I feel like that is a sentiment that could be broad, because a late second-round rookie pick can also mean an early third-round rookie pick when you add in the value that these rookie picks are going to increase in value going into the draft, get more valuable. Also, rookie fever as well. I could see this being a third, mid-third. Eventually, you get to a point where the running backs suck, you're done with receivers, and you're looking to see what you can do. Rockdale Moore has been soured in a lot of people's mouths. This might be something you can sneak away with. Rookie drafts can get pretty crazy. I've been around the world with these rookie drafts. I've seen a lot of things. These eyes. I've seen a lot of things in rookie drafts. I've seen a lot of crazy trades. And you might be able to catch them at a pretty good discount, depending on the league you're in. Maybe not. I've seen a lot of trades not happen either. I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot of wars in these Dynasty streets. But also, looking at the trade finder, there's no one-for-one trades. No one's like trying to pony up for him. No one's trying to get him. He's been using a lot of packages, a lot of instances where he's just a throw-in, maybe a package-up deal, whatever. But he's not listing any one-for-one trades. Very limited sample size. I think the value is going to depreciate throughout the offseason. I think everyone's low on the Arizona team as a whole. You might be able to catch him at a discount as a speculative asset. There's nothing wrong going after a speculative asset that's cheap. I mean, a cheap gamble is always good. Cheap lottery tickets. And if you miss, you miss. Low sunk cost. Nothing wrong with that. Third round picks, you got like a 5% hit rate. So something to look at. Late second round picks, 5 to 10%-ish hit rate. Maybe let's just call it 8%. I'm not looking it up. But that's around there. It's around there. So what's the gamble here? And then there's other players like that in that range you can gamble on. But this is a player who's very athletic, gets targets when he's healthy. Big question is, can he be healthy? What's his offense going to look like? Is he going to start getting deeper targets? Because that's really going to help his fantasy production. But this dude can get yak for days. He's explosive. He can make an impact. He does have a wide receiver 1 week on his name from last year, a couple wide receiver 2 weeks. So he can get you some production in short bursts. And you're not looking at him being your wide receiver 1. You're looking at him as a speculation piece. And you kind of want speculation pieces as your wide receiver 5-ish, 4, whatever. That's kind of what you want to do. But let me know in the comments below what you think about these 3 guys. Is there anybody you want me to bring up in the next wide receiver video for next week? I want to hear about it. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. It's only going to help you build your Dynasty teams going forward. I want to thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next show.